Hello, children. Welcome back to Sunday School, Traveling with God's Family. This time, we're going to find out what happened when Jacob traveled to his home and met Esau again. Jacob was still afraid of his brother Esau. He was afraid that Esau might kill him and his family when he went back home. He sent some servants to his brother Esau to find out if Esau was angry with him still. He commanded them to speak very politely and humbly to Esau. The messengers came back and told Jacob, "We saw your brother, and he's coming to meet you with 400 men." Then Jacob became very much afraid that Esau was coming to kill him and his wives and little children. Do you remember how we heard how Jacob split up his family and all his flocks and herds into two groups and sent them across the river Jabbok separately? Then, do you remember Jacob slept the night by the river Jabbok? After all the droves had passed over the Jabbok, Jacob sent his two wives and his children and maidservants after them. But Jacob stayed behind. He must have been more afraid than he had ever been in all his life. He wanted to be all alone so that he could pray to God to help him. While Jacob stayed behind, a man came and wrestled with Jacob the whole night long. Jacob wrestled so hard that he almost overcame the man. When the visitors saw how hard Jacob wrestled, he showed that he was not a man at all, but a heavenly visitor. He touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh, and the touch made Jacob's thigh go out of joint, so that he became lame. Of course, then he could not wrestle very well. The heavenly visitor said, "Let me go, for the day is breaking." Jacob, now knowing that his visitor came from heaven and would help in his troubles, he said, "I will not let you go until you bless me first." How different Jacob was from Esau, who had let his birthright go for a little dish of soup. Jacob fought hard to get a blessing. The heavenly visitor said to him, "What is your name?" Jacob said, "My name is Jacob." And the visitor said, "Your name shall no more be Jacob, your name shall be Israel, because you have wrestled with God and with men." This name means a prince of God. Then the visitor blessed Jacob. When the sun rose, Jacob passed over the brook to join his family, who had gone before him. He could not walk without limping on the foot where the Lord had touched the sinew of the thigh. He stayed lame all the rest of his life. But his lameness only made him remember that wonderful night when he had seen the Lord face to face. After Jacob and his family had gone some distance, they saw a cloud of dust afar off. Soon they saw that it was Esau and his company of men. They were really frightened, you can be sure. Jacob put the two handmaids and their children ahead, and Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph last of all, so that if Esau meant to do them any harm, he would do it first to the two handmaids and their children, and perhaps to Leah and her children. In this way, Rachel and Joseph might have a chance to escape. Then Jacob himself went first. He bowed himself right down to the ground, not once but 7 times, till he came near to his brother Esau. Esau did not bow down to Jacob. He got down from his camel. And what do you think he did? He ran to meet Jacob, and he hugged and kissed him. They both cried with joy to see each other. Both of them forgot that they had ever been angry with each other. They remembered only that they were twin brothers. After a little while, Esau saw the women and children. He asked, "Whose are these?" Jacob said, "The children which God has graciously given me." Then the two handmaids came near with their children and bowed themselves low to Esau. Next Leah came and bowed, and last of all Rachel and little Joseph came. They too bowed low. Esau asked, "What were all these droves of animals that I've met?" Jacob said, "They are a present for my lord." Esau answered, "I have enough, my brother. Keep these for yourself." When Jacob insisted, Esau took the present. Esau suggested that now he and Jacob should travel together. But Jacob did not quite like that plan. He was still a little bit afraid of Esau. He thought that Esau had better go ahead, for Jacob's family had to travel very slowly because of the small children and cattle with them. So they parted. Esau went on to the place where he lived, Mount Seir, and Jacob went on into the land of Canaan towards Hebron, where his father Isaac was still living, now a very old man. As Jacob journeyed, he came to the same place where he had lain down to sleep when he was running away from his brother 20 years before. You remember that Jacob set up the stone which he had used for a pillow, and that he named the place Bethel, or House of God. Now Jacob stopped at Bethel. He built an altar and worshipped God there again. Then he continued his journey to Hebron. He longed to see his old father, all the more since his mother Rebekah had died. But before Jacob reached Hebron, something very sad happened. His wife Rachel, whom he loved dearly, became ill and died. Just before she died, God sent her another baby boy. His father called him Benjamin. It is no wonder that his father loved little Benjamin very much. Joseph and Benjamin were Rachel's children, and Jacob loved them because he had loved her. They buried Rachel there, and Jacob set up a pillar to mark the grave. After Rachel's funeral, they came at last to Hebron, where Isaac his father still lived. Isaac was over 100 years old when Jacob went away, and Jacob had been gone for 20 years. His father was now about 160 years old. He lived 20 years longer and was able to talk to his grandchildren, Jacob's 12 sons. He taught them about God, telling them all about the wonderful promises that he had made to their great-grandfather, Abraham. At last, Isaac's life ended. He was 180 years old when he died. His sons, Jacob and Esau, buried him in the cave of Machpelah, where Abraham and Sarah and Rebekah were also buried. A little town grew up near the pillar that marked Rachel's grave. The town was called Bethlehem. And we all know who was born in Bethlehem hundreds of years later. Jacob feared his brother Esau would be angry still, so he sent him sheep and camels, for he thought he came to kill. Jacob prayed and wrestled with an angel through the night. He got a new name and was blessed, but had a limp after the fight. Joseph got a baby brother, but their mother died. Jacob called him Benjamin, and for his Rachel sadly cried. God brought Jacob safely home to Isaac, his old dad. Jacob and his many sons made Isaac laugh and very glad.